Hi, my name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at Bolt PM, and I'd like to welcome all of you to today's discussion. The topic for today is product discovery for product managers. In today's discussion, we'll be discussing how product managers can actually empower themselves and actually learn on leading product discovery efforts within their organizations. And if you don't know what product discovery is all about, we'll actually define that today and tell you what it is and what it is not. Because I see a lot of confusion often with different companies that think that they're doing innovation, and at the end of the day, all they're doing is incremental innovation and not radical innovation or something that is in between. And we're going to talk about specifically what product discovery is and what it is not for. A little bit about my company. We inspire the next generation of product leaders to turn ideas into valuable, profitable products. And we help organizations growing high-performing product teams that includes product managers and everybody else who works with their product managers to ensure that they can launch better products faster. And a lot of the techniques that we're going to be discussing today about product discovery is about becoming more lean and agile at the same time to ensure that your organization becomes more adaptable and that you can actually start looking at how to actually improve the performance of your entire product portfolio. What we're going to talk about today is a couple of different things. Number one is, why is product discovery so important, especially in today's economy? And we're going to talk about two stages for better product discovery specifically. There are several steps, and we're going to break this down, but two main stages that are part of any product discovery effort that ends up successful. So let's talk about current situation and what product discovery is and why it matters. First of all, current situation. Here's what's been going on for the last 10, 15 years with most technology and software companies across the world, not just in North America, but across the entire world. And that is that it's the right situation where people are now starting to see the value of agile development methodologies, and they're trying to scale agile across their entire organization. And we're talking about organizations that have tens of thousands of workers around the world, not just the mid-market companies and the startups, but now you're starting to see adoption in companies like IBM and Microsoft and Salesforce and all those other organizations that are now trying to scale across everything they do around their business, not just development activities. That includes also marketing and sales and supply chain management and everything that goes on that is part of their business operations. Before we continue, I want to just kind of ask this question and actually launch a poll question to answer this. And I'm going to launch this poll, and you can tell me which one of these have you encountered within your organization or within the organization that you were working with last. Have you seen post-COVID-19 delayed or lost sales revenue? Are you seeing cancellations or lost customers, changing customer needs and priorities, changing interactions with customers, disrupted product launches, delayed product milestones, reduced team capacity because now you've lost a few people and they're not necessarily coming back so very quickly, or you won't be able to hire back quickly, new remote collaboration requirements, supply chain disruptions, changing competitive landscape. Now you're seeing either more competitors or different competitors or maybe less competitors. Changing competitive landscape may be another one. Pick any of these that you have seen that has impacted your organization post-COVID-19 pandemic. And that means, for the last, since April of 2020, you're still trying to recover from many of these things. Pick all those things, and then we'll actually share with the audience. I'll give you a few seconds to respond. Pick any of those that apply that you've seen and you're experiencing today in your organization, and you may still try to recover from many of these things. I just want to say that most experts are saying that regardless of your industry, this pandemic has impacted organizations, and specifically product-driven organizations, in many different ways. And it doesn't really matter your industry or where you're selling into, because it's happening to you and or your customers, and maybe even impacting your suppliers as well. And maybe all of your entire ecosystem has been impacted. Areas like hospitality, for example, and entertainment were impacted at depression levels. We're talking about like that 1930s depression. This is the type of economy that we're in, and everybody has now compared the 2020s to the roaring 1920s, and about, what happened after the roaring 1920s, that is the Great Depression. And we're not fully out of the woods yet, because most organizations will probably take maybe 3 to 5 years to recover from the impact of all these things that were brought on by the effect of the pandemic. So just to share the results, you'll see that most of you have answered. Many of you are dealing with not just one, but multiple issues. And this is exactly what we're dealing with. And this is impacting not just us as product managers, it's impacting our product teams and it's impacting our entire product portfolio. So this is challenging times, and we haven't seen this type of economy in over almost 100 years. There is no living CEO that has driven a company out of the woods of this type of economy today, no matter what kind of company you're working for. So it's going to be a lot of discovery, a lot of exploration to figure out how to recover and how to bounce back from this type of economy in a way that actually is a long-term recovery. So these are the 10 challenges that product managers are facing, all of these. And you'll see that from the response of the poll, that this is actually the real impact, because you're all working in different companies and you're all being impacted in different ways because of this, and it's impacting a lot of product-centric organizations. And this is the reason why everybody is actually trying to pump up becoming more agile, because experts are saying today that these conditions, when you have lots of VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity in whatever you're going to do, any combination of these 4 factors, this is what Agile does for you, because agility actually allows your entire organization to become more adaptable, be quick to make decisions and quick to prioritize and focus on the right customers at the right time, and understand why a certain customer group takes priority over everybody else. And you focus on retaining your best customers and the best group of customers, no matter where they are in the world. And often it changes market by market. If your offering is global, your number one customer group is going to change market by market. And so often you need to have not just one initiative, but multiple initiatives as to how you're going to retain your customers, and maybe even try to acquire more customers in the same segment that is right now ripe for acquiring more, buying more from you. So the advantages of agile methods has been clearly published. This is actually from a study that was published by PMI, the Project Management Institute, and it was a recent one. And this is all the reasons why most large multinational corporations and mid-market companies are trying to speed up agility. And if you look at what happened in the last 6 months of 2020, everybody is trying to now go into a digital fast forward where they're trying to become more and more agile by adopting web applications and cloud-based applications that they were sort of like holding back on adoption of a lot of cloud-based and web-based applications because of security reasons. Now that they need to kind of figure out how to grow and scale the revenue and diversify and acquire more customers, everybody's saying this is about survival, not just about trying to keep up with our competition. Is about survival for us as an organization. Here's a second poll that I want you to I'm going to be launching, and that is, what are the top challenges that you're seeing right now if you're actually have been leading product discovery or have been involved in product discovery initiatives within your organizations? What are some of the challenges that you're currently facing when you're being asked to work on new products? So let me launch that poll, and then I will give you a few seconds to respond. So again, this is one of those select all that apply, because you may be seeing more than one challenge today when it comes to managing and leading product discovery initiatives. Are you seeing increasing product that you're struggling to increase the product to market fit of new products that you're launching into market? Are you trying to improve the customer experience to retain and maybe even acquire new customers? Are you having a hard time anticipating shifting customer needs? Are you looking to increase the customer perceived value of your offering, your value proposition? Or are you seeing Are you looking to acquire new and different customers? Because now you're seeing a new segment emerge because of whatever changes in the market have been happening, and you're seeing new opportunities because of these new segments that are just springing up right now. Pick any of these that are you're seeing within your organization, and we can actually start looking. And then this will answer the question as to why product discovery is so important across organizations, specifically technology and software companies that are trying to package their offering so they actually can turn their products into services that have some sort of subscription model. And we'll give you some case studies as well regarding this. I'm going to close the poll real quick because I think that most of you have actually responded, and then we share the results. If you see, all 5 are lit up by someone, right? People are trying to increase. Some of you are trying to increase the product market fit of new products, improve the customer experience. Everybody's trying to increase perceived customer value because now you're seeing maybe more competitor or maybe new products that are, you never thought were competing products, but they're actually disrupting your market and your customers. Anticipating shifting customer needs and then also acquiring new customers is a challenge as well. Well, here are some of the attributes that we talked about come along with product discovery initiatives that are successful. When you're leading product discovery using the methods that we're going to be discussing here, you're going to be able to do all of these, have better understanding of customer needs and therefore able to anticipate the needs, align, figure out how this particular product idea or concept aligns to your business strategy, how to use design-driven customer experience to actually start looking at the customer journey and start designing that and delivering that customer journey in accordance to your customers' expectations. Also create greater customer and seller value, not just create more value for your customers, but also create more value and deliver more value to your business, to your organization. And how to use technology-powered processes to actually help you automate and scale. Once you have tested out in small batch and you know that it's working, now how do you scale it across your entire organization when you have maybe a few hundred or a few thousand employees that now you need to start scaling your agile methods in product discovery? Here's a quote from Marty Kagan. Software projects can be thought of as having 2 different stages. 1, figuring out what to build the right product, and 2, building it, meaning building the product the right way. The first stage is dominated by product discovery. And the second stage is all about execution. So this kind of defines, what product discovery is, right? Product discovery is about discovering the right product to build at the right time for the right customers. And here's my definition of what I place in here. And if you think about a product discovery process as a black box when you're first designing your process, here's what this process should be. It's an iterative process, meaning it's not just a one pass. You might need to iterate. And as you're iterating, you're discovering something new. You're actually adding requirements. You're adding user stories to your backlog, and before you actually begin building or executing on that backlog. And it actually precedes requirements gathering in many cases. But very few people know or understand that product discovery is not just about discovering the right product for the right customers. It's also about discovering what is the right business model before you go to market with that product in order for you to achieve the value proposition and the business value that your executives and senior managers are expecting. And this is the one spot that I miss and I added in here because most literature, it doesn't talk about the business model of a new product, right? It just talks about finding a new product, launching it to market, and everything is nice and rosy. You put on your pink colored glasses, start drinking the Kool-Aid along with your executives, and voila, your product is going to reach growth and maturity at some point. Not so. There's a lot of new products that end up in failure. Failure, not because the products don't work, but it's failure because your product never delivers the value to your business that you thought it would, doesn't deliver, your customers don't think that it has enough value for them to buy it, and therefore they don't buy enough of it. They might buy it once, but never again. And that's not a very good formula for actually a long-term profitable product that you want to introduce. And this is the reason why you want to actually discover all these unknown unknowns and known unknowns, both, to reduce uncertainty, reduce the business risk in whatever you're about to do before you decide whether or not to design and develop something new that you're going to launch at some point. We're going to talk about the struggles about that, because many people think that discovery goes directly into delivery. Not so. Here's what I want to show you. Design thinking tells us that there are three different phases of any product. There's product delivery, there's product design and development, and there's product discovery. We're going to talk about product discovery, which is on the left on this particular screen. Product delivery is where your current products that are already in market are today. This is where your cash flow, revenue, sales is coming from today. Nothing, and I want to just emphasize this, nothing in product design or product discovery is creating revenue or cash flow today. And it won't for some time, because there's a lot of things that you need to discover, a lot of things that you need to actually figure out how to design and how to build in order for you to deliver the right value to those customers that they're looking for, and deliver the value that your business is looking for out of this product that you're about to begin designing and development. And all three phases, there's iteration across any of these three phases. It's very logical to say, oh, you just go from discovery to go to delivery, launch it right away. That's a bad formula for failure in the marketplace. Product discovery is here, product design is here, and product delivery is here when it comes to the complete product lifecycle. The only thing that it doesn't include is, when and how to withdraw a product from the market, because at some point you need to start pruning your portfolio as you're adding more products into your portfolio. As you add a product that you think is going to be for the future of the company, you need to remove all those ones that are just not achieving what they were looking for, so that you can then focus your resources, your funding, on the right things to fund for product delivery, the right things to fund for product design, and the right things to fund for future products that are part of product discovery. Saying this a different way, product delivery is about your Horizon 1 tasks. If you're looking at McKinsey Horizons of Growth, this is where your cash flow and profitability is coming from today. This is what's creating the majority of your market cap if you're a public company today. Design, Horizon 2, maybe a little bit of that if you're actually tinkering the right areas that are promising in emerging markets that everybody talks about. That's where you should be designing for, because those markets won't be ready until maybe 12 to 18 months from now. But you need to start working on those so that you can be ready to have something to offer by the time the market moves in that direction. Product discovery is even longer term than that. It's about where people are saying the market is going to be in the next 2-3 years, maybe longer, and figuring out what can you start testing today to start learning all those things that no one in the organization, nobody in your building knows about today. And you need to figure out what are those areas and who are those customers and how do you find those customers now to try to study them, and then figuring out from there what to offer them where they perceive a high value. And you can use lean and agile methodologies to do just this. So in conceive and plan, there is zero design in development. Let me repeat that again. There is zero design in development, but you are using design thinking methodologies, because design thinking is not just for actually figuring out how to build a product. Design thinking can also be used on discovering what is the right product to build, and make sure you validate the concept of a proposed solution with those stakeholders before you proceed on to design and developing and building that product. That is the whole purpose of conceive and plan. And there are lots of companies that are doing this today, and I'm going to show you exactly how it goes. So here's a typical agile process, right? Typically, you start working on adding your product backlog, and where do you get your product backlog today? If you have Jira, the majority of those things are going from Jira straight into some Kanban board as a product backlog, and then now you're prioritizing it along with the product team, product owner, scrum masters, and everybody else involved. And then you're saying, this is what we're doing, this is what we're committing for development, and then you move it into your sprint backlog. Well, what we're saying in this case is you're going to start creating not just one or two or as many products that are already in market. You're going to start creating possible new product backlogs that you don't commit, but there's going to be a lot of prioritization based on what you are discovering during product discovery. And you're actually starting to gather a lot of the user stories that you care about by validating concepts and ideas against prospective customers. And those could be current customers that you're selling into, or it could be completely brand new customer groups that you haven't targeted before as an organization. And this is what the discovery is all about. It's not just about discovering the product, it's about discovering who are the right customer groups to be studying today for the future of your business, for the future of your product portfolio. And often, both product discovery entails not just customer discovery, it also entails customer validation, validating that they're actually going to see the value without and showing them something that is not even a functional prototype, is maybe a drawing or a sketch. It may be an animation, a cartoon. It may be one of these videos that you see now that are, a minute or so, explaining the explainer videos, explaining what it would mean for this particular solution that you would be creating, and getting reaction from people before you begin designing and development and collecting feedback from those customers. This is what product discovery is all about. It's about taking ideas, concepts, design details, and then test them, package them, make them feel like they're real today, science fiction, but actually get feedback from your prospective target customers before you decide whether it's worthwhile to move into design and development. And needless to say, this is going to be a lot more effective because a very small team or a collection of very small teams can very quickly go through a sprint or maybe a few sprints of product discovery and create multiple backlogs that now you need to do a lot of testing and validation against a real prospective target customers. And now the job changes from having a product to actually doing market research, primary market research, to discover who is the right customer group that is going to be your next pot of gold, your goose egg, your golden egg for the future of your business, for the future of this product. And now you can tailor that product for them. Design thinking also tells us that if you go through this ongoing loop, right, this infinite loop, that you want to have a product that is desirable by customers, feasible from a organization point of view, that you have all the right resources and partners and everybody else, suppliers that you need to actually plan it, build it, deliver it. But also it has to be viable. And that is the business value that you're delivering. The fact that you can show that there's going to be some sort of ROI, which goes along with whatever your executives want to have as a new product. And what they're going to say, we want to make sure that you minimize the business risk in us saying that if you're going to tell me that there's going to be this ROI, we need to know exactly how much and how long before we can actually start seeing cash flow from sales of this product. And all along the way, you're going to have to do a lot of modeling, a lot of simulation, and a lot of convincing to make sure that you can convince executives and senior managers within the organization that this is a product that is desirable, feasible, and viable. And in order for you to have viability, not only do you have to have a plan for the product, you need to have a business model for the product itself. And this is the business model canvas that I'm talking about here. So I mentioned earlier that this black box that I showed earlier of product discovery has two stages. Here are the two stages. On the left-hand side, it's about finding the right problem to solve and the right set of stakeholders that encounter this problem and which group has the highest amount of pain points, and just, they're angry, they're depressed, they're like frustrated because whenever that problem happens, it's a major issue for them that just takes them back. And now they would welcome someone to just come in and give them a solution that puts them into the right solution, that just kind of turns their emotional state from being angry, frustrated, just completely frustrated with what's going on. And now they like what they see about the solution. They will start using it more, and they will actually love your product by the time it's ready to launch. And of course, there's a lot of iteration between discovering the right problem to solve and for whom, and what needs you're going to actually satisfy, what gain creators you're going to include into your solution, what is the value proposition, and also what type of pain relievers are you going to include in your solution. And that as your concept of what is the problem to be solving and for whom evolves, your solution space will also evolve at the same time. So you don't work on just one and then the other. You're working on both at the same time, both stages. And as the problem changes, or the target changes, or their needs change over time, your solution also needs to be adjusted in at the same time. And it's one of these things that you're iterating between the two. You think you have a solution, you go back and validate, something changes, something happened, something that you didn't anticipate. You now figure out how to satisfy and keep those stakeholders happy, or whether or not they're the right stakeholders for you. All of these things are the things that you're going to do a lot of A/B testing in the way you validate your problem and the proposed solution before you can even start, figuring out, do you request funding to proceed on to design and development. So all of this is just you're gonna do this, but just ideas, concepts, design details, nothing else. And at best, you're gonna be using mock-ups. Mock-ups I define as non-functional prototypes of your solution before you can get there. Here are the 8 steps. This is the same 8 steps that are outlined in this particular slide of this double loop concept of product discovery. And this is just broken out. And the warning is this iteration between any of these boxes. And at some point, you might need to jump in from one of these boxes to another box, and you might be iterating across for a while until you discover all you need to know and start making all those unknown unknowns into known unknowns and start quantifying and go from low fidelity to high fidelity understanding of the needs of your customers and which group is the best one that you should be targeting in the market and when to actually do that. Talk about stage 1. And I want to quote Albert Einstein saying, if I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and then 5 minutes resolving it. What is he really saying here? That whenever you're spending time in understanding the right problem to solve and the right solution, the most important piece is stage 1. That is, spend more time before you jump into solutions. Spend more time understanding the problem and who has it before you jump into solutions. But most product managers, as I find, maybe it's peer pressure, maybe it's just they don't know what they don't know. I find that we're in the middle working with developers and everybody is a problem solver, right? As engineers, which many of us are, or we have a technical background, we're trained to be problem solvers, not necessarily problem finders. What Albert Einstein is saying, the most important piece of coming out with some successful solution is to really understand and study, deep dive into understanding the problem first. Then you can start figuring out which is the best solution that fits that particular set of stakeholders that has that problem. So stage 1 is really about finding the right problem, and it's about understanding the problem space. What is the problem? Who are the people facing the problem? How many of them are there? What are the demographics? How are you going to target them? And do they have the buying power to actually, that if you deliver the right value, are they willing to pay what you want to get paid for your proposed solution? All of these things are things that you need to start iterating. And often you need to make sure that at least you have a minimum size of available prospective customers before you even say that it's a problem worthwhile figuring out how to solve. So the size of the market matters, especially when it's a new product that is going to be targeting a new set of customers that you don't have access to today. The more customers that are out in the market that you can study for some time without offering a solution, just study what they do, what their problem is, and what is their for their idea of a best solution. What are the pain points that they have, and what are the gains that they're looking for from a proposed solution? And there's ways that you can follow the same 4-step approach in understanding the problem before you can actually write down what the problem is with the right attributes and characteristics that you need to understand before you begin working on a proposed solution. Here's an example, sample problem statement. Tell me if you can guess what company I'm talking about here. Blank company allows you to store all of your files in one place and access them from any device you use without the need of a thumb drive or external portable drive. What product, what company am I referring to? You guys are probably using it today. If you can break in just share via the chat would be great. Any of those would be great. Hey, you guys are right. Calvin, June, thank you for contributing. Dropbox is the actual company, right? And what I did is I actually didn't find what the company does, what the product is. In this case, it's a branded product, it's a branded house, and it's synonymous to doing this. They were the pioneers along with Box. Here's another example of a sample problem statement. This is what you want to have clarity on, and maybe we're going to talk about how to enhance this so that you have all the right discriminators to allow you to prioritize whether this is a problem worthwhile solving or not. Here's another example. Blank allows you to securely upload any file up to 2 gigabytes in size and share it instantly across any device from anywhere without the need for a thumb drive or external portable drive. What company am I talking about? There may be several brands that do this because there's lots of competing companies now. If you can share with the chat what company I'm talking about here, will be great. I'll give you a few seconds to respond and we'll see if you guys get it right. No pressure. So if you guys, I see that there's Google Drive and WeTransfer. So they're actually the same. WeTransfer actually is the pioneer in this. And WeTransfer started as a company branded as You Send It. They were the pioneers. They were the first ones before there was a Google Drive approach. But WeTransfer is still now a company, and they are actually offering a freemium model where you can actually do this for free, and then it gives you a transfer link that you can just send to anyone, and they can just download whatever file you want to transfer to them without the need to actually physically mail it or email it or put it somewhere so they can download it. Put it in your own hosting service so they can download it from that hosting service. So this is a thing. Now, here's a tool that it would be great if you learn how to use it correctly, because this has everything that you need that over time allows you to clearly define the problem that you're trying to solve. And then before you move to solutions, ensure that you can reframe it to put the context into it, into what's happening in the market. And why is this the right market problem to maybe possibly work on a solution? It's called the problem statement canvas. Here's an example and see if you can tell me what company I'm referring to. Post-pandemic, this organization, there were several organizations that encountered that every day for an average of 8 to 12 hours per day, their Agile teams were no longer able to work together because Agile teams mostly were co-located prior to the pandemic. But now they're working remotely. The majority of them are working remotely, and they need to still communicate, collaborate, and commit work items to be done while working remotely. And they need to often set up multiple conference calls, not just one. It may be a team conference call followed by lots of one-on-one or one to a few calls to get work items done. Once they are committed for doing, they need to now get them done. And it's all collaborative type of work, and all of them are working remotely. Workers using agile methods to plan and implement high priority tasks that require team collaboration. These are your customers. This is a B2B type of solution. And the emotional impact is executives, senior managers, frustrated, overwhelmed, and stressed and angry, perhaps, going through all those stages of grief because they can no longer be co-located. And now they need to figure out very quickly how to work remotely and still maintain productivity up. And on an average, even a team of 50 people or so, they're losing, if they're losing, each person is losing 8 hours of productivity per day. That equates to over 2,000 hours of productivity, lost productivity each week. So that's a pain point, right? And it's impacting organizations post-COVID-19. Because the alternatives that they were using, they may be using web-based applications, but they're all siloed applications, meaning they don't work well together. They lack the ability to easily create and manage meetings and track work items with zero integration, zero coding required. And this is real. And set up, and so how do you do this? How do you allow now teams that were mostly working using agile methodologies having to be co-located the majority of the time, and now they're working remotely almost overnight? This is the resulting, by using this is the resulting problem statement. And there are more qualifiers that you can put in here, but they would come from doing more market research, right? You start doing this and you validate the problem to see what companies are the ones that are most impacted. Well, this is just an example of how you can use this canvas to create a sample problem that now you can start on continuing to update over time as you're going through this product discovery process. I'm going to give another case study of another company. Unrelated to this, I'm going to come back to this company. You guys can tell me what company this is. If you guys know, take a guess. Let me know who provides a solution to this problem, because we're going to talk about towards the end today. But here's the next one, Airbnb. How many of you are Airbnb users? You can just either wave an emoji on your, or wave at me and tell me, yeah, I'm an Airbnb user. Here's the Airbnb model. Well, guess what? Here's what their business model was, and this is where a global product, from a startup to a global product, where they have more rooms back in 2018 than the largest hotel chain. And they were just, they don't own anything. They were just matching hosts and guests. And that may have included some boutique hotels or some single location bed and breakfast locations. Those are the kinds of people that are hosts, in addition to people who just have a single family home or a condominium or a spare vacation a place that they want to rent sometime to guests. And all that Airbnb platform does is they match, and then they actually get revenue whenever somebody books a location. Whenever a guest books a location, they get paid a percentage of those fees. So it's a completely transactional model, and it just depends. The more business and the higher the bookings are through their platform, the more revenue they get. Quickly grew. Guess what happened post-COVID-19? What was happening? You couldn't travel. So if you were traveling internationally, you had booked a location on Airbnb a few months before because you wanted to go to Italy and be in Milan for whatever reason, or go to Rome or some other place in the world. You couldn't travel anymore. So their cash flow went literally overnight to almost zero. So they very quickly went into product discovery. And product discovery they had done, because they do it on an ongoing basis several times a year. They actually said, well, we started working with this idea and we can implement it pretty quickly. We can bring it to market because right now we believe this is the best approach to actually get some cash flow from people that are still willing to book to specific locations because of the reasons why they had booked that location to begin with. And that included people that wanted to have an entire experience. And an experience could be as simple as a wedding being planned at a specific location. And now you need to have some, event planners, like wedding planners, in addition to maybe, having some tours for the guests that are going to be attending and make it a week-long kind of thing, celebration, either before or after the wedding. And they were there for the wedding, but also could stay for other reasons. They started creating experiences, and they had already, not only had they already had connections to boutique hotels that offer these experiences anyway on their own. Now they could extend their offering by putting the same offering as an experience on Airbnb. And that's how they started filling different places. Even a new market was created that actually entailed tour guides. And that was because when they saw who actually traveled and where was the most amount of travel being done in North America in 2019, I don't know if you've seen the reports lately, but a record high number of US people were actually visiting national parks. Yellowstone and all the other ones that you hear about that you ever wanted to have in your bucket list, people were actually started doing that because they're mainly concerned about how those things are going to be impacted long term because of climate change. And they say, I don't want to miss the opportunity of looking at this beauty and being in this place and being disconnected away from all this commotion. And a record number of people in US were visiting national parks. Well, they started also looking at hosts that have locations near national parks within driving distance or walking distance or hiking distance of national parks. And they actually created experiences on national parks. The result is that very quickly, in less than 2 months, they launched this and they started getting even new bookings from these experiences, people who wanted to do this. And they even extended because now, not only you don't have to travel for some of these experiences. People were already having their own YouTube channels. Some of the tour guides and some of these activity producers that were already YouTube influencers, specific locations where they stream from, and they were having a whole series, and they have followers, and those followers wanted to get more of that and take a deeper dive into whatever they're doing. Things that people who are like wine enthusiasts, for example, getting tours of all these different and actually recommendations on different types of wines on locations where they were streaming from live. And those were actually paid streaming programs that they're running via the Airbnb site. All of this happened, and because of this, they actually created a new revenue stream very quickly. Much of this revenue stream had recurring revenue because many of these producers and tour guides have a subscription model to their programs, and people started buying them in 2020 when they were unable to travel. And short story, the Airbnb had postponed their IPO, and they actually had a successful IPO at the beginning of 2021. And right now, they're already a successful public company that is still in market because of the fact that they were actually working on product discovery before they needed a new product. They could actually make it happen pretty quickly and go to market and create a new revenue stream that became their a growing revenue stream for them. They're now back to offering still the same bookings that you can offer, but you can still see their experiences being sold on Airbnb today. So that's a result of somebody who's doing proactive product discovery, because you never know when is the right conditions or when the market conditions are going to change in your favor. And if you have the right solution at the right time, you might as well just launch it as soon as you're ready. Stage 2, finding the right solution, is not just about finding the right product, which is a solution to those customers, but also ensuring that it has a viable business model, meaning your cost structures and your revenue streams that you have that you can create over time. There's going to be a lot more sales revenue than actual investment on cost structures over time to not only build, but deliver the product on and have profitability. That's what viability is all about. Ensuring that your business model, that you can show and you can prove, not just believe or have a hunch, but actually show that your product can become profitable because got the right number of customers out there in the market. You know exactly how to target them. You know what their needs are. You know what they're looking for. You already know that you have the right solution because they're giving you feedback on the concept that you've tested against them. And now you need to do is execute and deliver and make sure you can scale the delivery to make sure that you can actually achieve the right growth in revenue that you're looking for. If you look at companies like Tesla, the electric vehicle company, this is exactly what they did to introduce their initial model. And they've repeated that over the next few introductions of new products, all electric vehicles, and now has become a global company. One that is the market cap is already for them to start launching their product, not just in North America, but across the entire world. Tesla today is the highest valued automotive company compared to any other traditional automotive company. You look at their market cap today, it's much higher than GM and any of the other players around the world that have been in automotive for a long time. The solution space includes things like what are the users going to fall in love with? What are they going to like? What do they dislike? And how do we make sure that we include not just the things that are cater to their needs, but also delight them and just wow them with the things that we can do by providing the best experience that nobody else can match. And if you look, Airbnb is one of these companies that has done exactly that. The solution that they've created, they just do an outstanding job of ensuring that they deliver the best experience possible so that you can get a lot of more returning customers because they're transactional. The more that people buy and the more they retain and the more they sell and upsell, that's how they make money. And that's why they need to ensure that they maintain they deliver the best experience compared to anybody else. Another tool you can use is something that we talked about at the last session, which is the product vision canvas from Product Growth Leaders. More information on this is actually a free available canvas that you can use to actually start writing down what your proposed solution would entail when it comes to defining it by its value proposition, who you're targeting, and all those other things that are part of understanding the business side, the product side, but also the business side of the product itself. And the business space itself, you can actually go back to the same model the same tool that I used earlier, which is the business model canvas, which is this 9 sectors, 9 quadrants that you can define and then figure out how feasible it is, how desirable it is to your customers, and who are your target customers, and how viable your business model is. And often you think that developing the product and discovering the product is what takes the longest. In my experience, what takes the longest is when you have something missing from your current business model that you now need to add something new, like a new partner, a new supplier that you haven't had before. Maybe even try to figure out how to actually create a new revenue stream, like a subscription-based model that you never had before, because right now all you're selling is one product at a time. You don't have a subscription service now, and you need to figure out how to actually create the right model to actually implement recurring revenue streams. These are the kinds of things that you want to do, is make sure that somebody is working on building the right business model at the same time that you're already committing a new product to be designed and developed. So as the product is being built, somebody else is working, a different team is working on actually evolving and adjusting your business model so that the product, whenever it's ready to be launched, can succeed and deliver the business value that your executives are looking for out of the product. Here's the company that I was talking about. You remember that example of using the problem statement canvas that I used, and I talked about a sample problem statement. It's about Zoom communications. And actually, you could have said Zoom and maybe Microsoft Teams. Bar none, Zoom communications was the killer application of 2020. This is what happened in their market cap in April of last year. As soon as the pandemic was announced, they went from 10 million users around the world in December of 2019 to over 300 million users around the world by April of 2020. And because it was already a public company when the investors and shareholders saw this adoption increase, huge increase of adoption, everybody started wanting to buy. It was a buy. It was a strong buy of shares for Zoom, and their market cap compared to the 8 largest by market cap airlines in the world, including Southwest and all the other ones that you see, in April of 2020, Zoom Communications alone was worth more than collectively all 8 largest airlines at the same time period. These are all public companies. Now you could say, well, did they maintain that momentum? Well, they actually, today, if you look, they're at half of the market cap that they achieved at the peak. And this is not the peak. They actually peaked in October of 2020. They went up further than that. I think they hit closer to $50 billion in market cap by October. And they've lost some of that, but even at, they've lost about half of that market cap, but even at half, they're still worth more than any of these airlines, any single one of these airlines is today. And here's what's happened. The winners between the of COVID and pandemic has been these 3 applications: Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Slack. And the reality today is that most people that are using agile methodologies, that are mostly working remotely now, as opposed to being co-located, they're using one of these tools or any combination of these 3 tools today. It's not one or the other. It's Zoom along with Slack, because Zoom and Slack work very well together. And many people will say it's a better experience than using Office 365 and Microsoft Teams. How many of you have used both Zoom and Teams, and which one do you prefer? If you can share that via the chat, would be great, because I would love to have your thoughts on this. And I can tell you what my input is on this. And I tell you why I think that right now, Zoom is set to still outpace the growth of Microsoft Teams. Even so, all that Microsoft is doing is positioning Microsoft Teams for everybody who's already an Office 365 user today around the world. And that includes me, by the way, because I am an Office 365 user. But I don't like Teams. I've used Teams and I just don't like it. Yeah, it's secure, but it's just cumbersome to use. And for first-time users, impossible unless you have a master's in some technical degree to use. So it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the average user. Whereas Zoom is very easy to use. It delivers the best experience. And if you think about, the security issues, that was back in April of 2020. What they've done this year with the introduction of the upgrades that you're seeing now, if you're a Zoom client user, you're seeing upgrade after upgrade, is they have actually built up security, at least good enough that it's on par with what most of us think is a secure product. Zoom today, Zoom 5.0.4 or 5 is just as secure as Teams is today. And they're going to continue catching up. But the experience that Zoom is delivering compared to Teams is second to none. That's in my humble opinion. I don't know if you guys are looking at that. So wrapping up on this, I want to just close to say, understand that product discovery can be done, and do not let people tell you that product discovery is about, immediately going into designing a solution that you haven't even validated against people who are not in your building, because customers are not in your building most of the time, unless you're designing a product for internal use. If that product is going to be bought and sold to somebody outside the building, you need to validate your proposed solution before making a decision as to whether or not it's going to be worthwhile investing even further to actually build something that you can start doing some beta testing on before you decide whether or not it's ready to go to market. And I see a lot of people today that want to go from product discovery to product delivery immediately, and they want to skip the design and development phase. Do not let yourselves do that, because I can tell you, I've been there. I've seen that movie before, and I know how it ends, and it is not pretty. The majority of your products are going to end up in failed products, meaning they're not going to be profitable because not enough customers are going to buy over time to get to become profitable. And the fact is, you sunk in a lot of time and funding and resources, and you prioritize working on this product as opposed to something else because you thought that this was going to be about the future of the company, and it turned out to be not so. Instead of a blockbuster, you have something that went straight to not even DVD, you went straight to streaming services now instead of going to the theaters if you're in the film industry. And that's not the type of product you want to be designing. If you're going to be discovering something, you want to start creating and discovering products that actually can become business units by themselves. And if you use this product discovery process that I'm talking about here to test concepts and validate those concepts and validate the problem, you will see that much easier. You will start understanding all the things that you don't know and that nobody else in the building knows. And this is why you need to start doing this type of product discovery before you move into design and development of new products. Final thought, I want to know how many of you are actually using, if you're using Agile today, how many of you are using any of the tools that are listed in here? Some of the ones that are in here, and actually I'm going to just very quickly just launch this poll as we're now going into shifting into Q&A. And just let you know that we are going to be sharing the entire slide deck that I showed. I realized I went over a lot of information very quickly. And it's because you will get access to the video playback, but we'll also give you access to my entire slide deck that we're showing. And if you have any questions, we can actually go into Q&A. If you need to leave, I understand. I apologize for going over the time, but I wanted to make sure that at least all of you got a chance to introduce yourself at the very beginning before we began, and that I would cover enough information for you to actually get something out of this. We are going to have a Q&A. If you are willing to stick around, just type in your question, answer the poll, and then we can just have the discussion, the Q&A discussion itself as well. And I would say at this point, I don't know if Steve, did we get any questions on the chat? I wasn't really sure if we've seen any questions that are that you could ask, or that maybe if you have any questions that you could want to chime in, you can actually unmute yourselves and ask the question.
I've been monitoring the chat stream, and we've been having a little conversation off on the side. But
that's what I thought. I was listening all this chatter, and I'm going like, wait a minute, is there a question in there?
and poor Hector's not part of it. But anyway, there are no open questions. But Carl has a question.
No, I just want to comment. First of all, this is great stuff. I'm sure we've all gone through all of this in our experiences in our career, but one of the things that I attest to and I really hold dear is finding out what's keeping that customer up at night. What are those challenges? Because when we build that value proposition, I've gone into new hire sales meetings, and as a product manager, trying to make sure that they understand. Go in and ask these kinds of questions before you even decide to provide a solution to anybody that you're talking to. And I also do that on the partner side, because working in companies that were both direct and indirect sales models, and they were global, there's a foundational piece that works right across the board, but there's little dials that you tweak and turn. But the biggest thing is, if you build toward those business challenges, when you walk into a prospect or a new customer or existing customers that you want to grow to the next level, and you hit on those things, then you're not chasing what didn't work, or the customer's not satisfied with the product because they thought it was supposed to do this. So excellent data and content going across the board.
Yeah, and actually, I want to also warn you as well, Carl. One of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're doing the market research, it's clear that you need to have a clear understanding of the size of the group, market by market, because the size of the group, if they exist across markets, they will vary significantly.
Yep.
And when you're sampling, it's not just talking to one key account. If you're a B2B vendor, I've seen this happen in many ways. So you're listening to all your key accounts, and the key accounts don't represent the majority of that market.
That's an excellent point, because when I did my customer advisory boards, it was not only our strategic large accounts, it was also a mixture of those small SMBs coming up, because you need to hear both sides of the story.
Mhm. And this is where you want to make sure that at least you start recruiting the people that you're not necessarily engaging, because there may not necessarily be your customers. And I think it's most important, especially when part of your business case for justifying a new product means that you not only need to retain your current key accounts buying, but you need to actually acquire new key accounts in the next 2 years after you launch that product. And that's the majority of B2B products. That is the challenge, is that you need to actually engage organizations that are not currently your customers, and you need to you can get very creative as to how you do this, but often it means that you need to carry out interviews, and those interviews can be, you can get creative as to where you actually do these interviews, and you're not calling them interviews, you're calling them something else. And this is where you got to get really creative as to how you actually start really trying to understand and empathize. And you're not selling anything. It's about understanding their real needs, where they're going, and so you can anticipate what they will actually, what they're going to do most likely, so that you can now start putting together a concept that is a proposed solution. And then further on, continuing that conversation, once you understand their problem, is figuring out what is the best proposed solution that fits their needs and their ecosystem, their environment. This actually is where you spend a lot of time, because understanding the steps, it's not rocket science, but actually conducting the right market research to actually start looking at all these things that you to really get a complete understanding. That's how you deploy this is actually the challenge. So I would just let you know that that's the case. I want to thank all of you who have responded for the to this poll. I want to kind of shift and say that this is something that I'm considering doing. If you're interested, if you're users of these particular tools, one of the things that I'm trying to do is do a comparison of like a show me demo of these tools and why they're perceived as leaders under somebody's market reports when doing comparison of enterprise agile tools, because these are tools that are being used by many mid-market organizations and often also multinational corporations when they have agile teams and they're trying to scale their agile their agility across their entire business. So I will do that, and also tell you a little bit more about upcoming activities. We have workshops that are online coming up. There's more information here. Also, this particular workshop is coming up later this month. It's also online. If you're interested in understanding how to actually go about building and creating alignment with teams that are going to be specifically for discovery, for design, for delivery, you need to make sure you're recruiting the right members with the right affinities. And if this is what you're doing, figuring out that sometimes you're working on product delivery teams, sometimes you're working with product design teams, sometimes you're working with product discovery teams. This is how you want to become a great team builder as a product manager. And my contact information is here. I'm also going to be sharing this via the chat. So at least you can feel free to connect with me or email me or follow me on Twitter, any of these things. We typically, as I mentioned, between Steve and I will have this monthly meetings. Next month will be an exception because we're having that product camp online, this product camp DC online. You guys are welcome to register, attend. We will be doing exactly the same thing. It'll just be more sessions in one day, and we'll be recording each session. If you register, you get a link to every session, whether you attend or not. And then you can also attend the live delivery. And we're looking for not just the topics that appeal to you, but also if you're an expert subject matter, you're willing to share your knowledge in any of these specific product related topics, feel free to submit a submission, and we'd be more than happy to put that on the program and make sure that we can offer it to other people who will be attending the Product Camp online event in November. anything else? Any other questions? You can feel free to share your LinkedIn connection. I'm gonna share my LinkedIn short URL to my LinkedIn profile so you guys can connect with me on the chat. Also, my boldpm.com email address if you need to email me. So feel free to share that with to contact me, reach out if you have any questions. And if you have any follow-up questions, once you view the video, if you have any questions that pop up that you didn't ask, feel free to reach out to me. And hope to see you again at next month's Product Camp Online DZ 2021. I want to thank all of you for attending today, and hope to see you again next month. And I hope to come back. And thanks so much for joining us today.